of all of the baseball cards that you have with you right now, are there any that stand out as a favorite, sentimental, particularly notable?
Yeah, I've made a lot of really bad decisions collecting cards, like anyone, and we all take our shots at different players at different times. But I made two really good decisions, which is that I went all in on Luka the summer after his rookie year, right before his second year, where he came back and went from rookie of the year to Hall of Famer. And I was buying Ohtani at the very beginning of his sort of like he had his rookie year, he had a couple years off, he was injured, but like at the very beginning of him starting to come back and starting to get hot and people starting to look at it, and I made a lot of money buying Ohtani early, but I've bought and sold up. But there's one card that I will probably hold on to forever, and the story about this is extraordinary. So I'll show you the card first, and I don't know how well you guys know cards, but so this is the Bowman Chrome number to 5 autograph. So this is basically his second best card. The only card better is going to be the 1 of 1, the Superfractor. It's a red jersey. It's a 10, so 10 autograph, and I mean this is I don't know what this would go for on the market. Maybe $1 million plus. Like, I don't know. And I paid $30,000 for it, but the story is even better, which is that I was buying up Ohtanis at this time. I was a couple different card shows. I was buying all the biggest Ohtanis in the room, and I was just trying to accumulate them. And I met a kid who was this sort of like typical like hustler kid who was just sort of like trying to help me find him. He'd call me up and, hey, this guy's got him. This guy. So he found the guy who owned this card, and the guy was in Hawaii. Now I live in Austin, Texas, and the guy in Hawaii, we made a deal, but he refused to ship the card. He's like, I was buying it for $30,000, which at the time was a fair market price, maybe a couple bucks, high. And he says, listen, I this is more money I've ever made in my entire life. I pulled it out of a pack. He's like, I make $40,000 a year. He's like, I'm not sending this in the mail. He's like, the post office here steals stuff. I'm just not doing it. Well, I can't fly to Hawaii. And so there's this kid, this 23-year-old in the middle. I said, I'll pay you to fly to Hawaii. I'll pay for your vacation. Stay there as long as you want. I'll pay. You want to hang out there for a week? I'll pay for it. Get the card and fly it back to me. And he did. And I covered everyone's costs and the whole thing. And the kid goes to Hawaii, spends like a weekend there, hangs out with the other kid there, and then comes back and brings me the card. And there were actually 2 cards in the deal. It was this and an orange, which is numbered to 25, auto 1010. That one I've sold off. I spent a ton of money on that. But so, you figure out how to make it work. And this kid got a free trip to Hawaii out of it. So
I'm laughing about that kid going through airport security in like Honolulu.
And holding 50,000 in cash too, right? Because I had to give him cash to be able to go and buy it, because it was the whole thing, and so yeah.
Can you imagine?
But
man?
Hey,
you're like on the plane, like clutching. You're like, like holding to it like it's the nuclear football.
You got it though. You got the Ohtani card, and it is funny though to think about like the Ohtani arc early in his career, because his rookie season, the novelty was amazing and he was amazing, but it was a fraction of what it was a couple years later. And as you mentioned, that kind of brief dip where we weren't sure if he was going to become this historic figure. Not that his rookie season wasn't already historic, but what it has obviously become over the last 5 years is a completely different level, which as you have, I'm sure, experienced financially, but also just in what that card kind of carries. It continues to get better and better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Look, there was a chance after his injuries that I was like, okay, it was a nice little blip as a rookie, and that was it. Then he started coming back. And look, the one thing that all collectors have learned is that if you have a card who has a market in Asia, there's just exponential returns, just because it's all supply and demand. And it's just who has markets, right? I mean, Kobe, Steph, these guys that have huge followings in Asia, their cards are worth way more than the math of the supply and demand. And Ohtani, it's just a perfect microcosm of how the hobby works from a financial and business standpoint.
Josh, you've been involved with a lot of different projects over your career. and you've kicked off something called Ghostright. Tell us a little bit about this project, what it means to you, and what it's all about.
Yeah, well, I this is a blast to come and talk about Philly fandom and sports and baseball. And a lot of this is, for me, I started a number of companies before StockX that had nothing to do with sneakers, nothing to do with trading cards, nothing to do with any sort of personal passions. And then it's either, sort of fate or irony that the first time we start creating businesses around the things that I have personal interest in are the ones that become successful. After StockX, I created Fanatics Collectibles with Michael Rubin, right? We went out and acquired all the licenses for baseball, basketball, football cards and created that trading card entity where we essentially built that company from nothing, acquired those licenses out from under the incumbents. And look, there's a whole backstory there. And the short version is that it was my idea, but, it was 99%, Rubin's relationship and ability of Fanatics to get those licenses. But what it did was it put me in a really interesting position of working with all the people that controlled the licenses for Major League Baseball and the NBA and MLB. And so when I left in 22, I knew that I wanted to create a collectible toy company. When you sort of look at all these categories, they're all the same. Sneakers, trading cards, toys, they're all what we call the hype economy products that are supply and demand driven, sort of at the intersection of culture and commerce. And so I knew I wanted to create a collectible toy brand. And I actually wasn't focused on sports. But then the people that I'd become close with at the NBA and at Major League Baseball, I sort of just naturally told them what I was working on. And they're like, oh, we should make a baseball set. And I was like, oh, yeah. Like, how did I not think of that first, right? So it was such a perfect connection because Ghostright, which is a collectible toy brand, and I'm holding up what is a blank ghost. And I'll spare you the whole long story, but the short version is of all the collectible toys that exist, and collectible toys think of it as like starter art, right? They're just pieces of art. Most toys are IP, it's characters. So think of Spider-Man, right? Iron Man, whatever, right? There's a lot of unique anime, stuff like that. But there's a few brands that are just what we call a blank canvas. And so this is what we call a ghost, and a ghost can be anything. It can be, it can be a pencil, it can be an NBA basketball, and by having the ability to turn this into anything as a blank canvas, the closest thing you can describe this to is trading cards, because trading cards are the perfect blank canvas product in the entire world. The physical thing is the same every single time, but the value is about who's on it, right? Is it, LeBron? Is it Acuna? Is it the backup, catcher for it? The value changes wildly based on it, but the physical thing is the same every single time. And so how do we take all of that? How do we take all of the learnings and the scarcity and the demand creation in trading cards, which, by the way, we didn't make any of this stuff up. Trading card companies been doing this for, 50, 70, 80, 100 years, right?
Since we were throwing them in bubble gum.
For sure, right? Topps started making cards in 1952. So we didn't make this up. But what happened in, the last 15 years, but then really in the last 5 years, is the convergence of the rest of culture with the trading card industry and with that idea of how we create scarcity in value in collectibles, but true scarcity in value. Right? When you look at some of the cards today, like this Ohtani, which is numbered to 5, there's only 5 of these that exist. There never will be any more, right? This is it. Like we understand the scarcity. And by the way, even the grading, we have full transparency into what the grades are of the other 4 of these. So we understand. So that level of transparency into the information about the products helps create the scarcity and the demand that understands the value. So how do we take all of that and apply it to an industry that's big enough to matter? The collectible toy industry has worked with all the most important brands and artists and companies in the world, but has never really had, that connection with sports. And so we did the first one we launched was the WNBA set, which was in December. That one was perfect timing. It was coming at the end of Caitlin Clark's rookie year. I actually have with me one of the rare Caitlin Clark. So this one has a gold crown. So this one is numbered to 10. So this one, by the way, at this size, this sells for about $3,000 on eBay because it's numbered to 10. The one of one, just like trading cards, the one of one Caitlin Clark sold for $30,000 on the secondary market. This size, which is 2.5 inches for for anyone that's listening. And so so it's just like trading cards. You open up a box, you hope that you're going to get Caitlin Clark, who is the best player in that set, but you also hope you're going to get the rare versions. And so for baseball, we're in the middle of launching the same thing. So here's actually, I opened up my first pack yesterday, and this is Aaron Judge. And this one is actually numbered to 50. By the way, we put on the bottom of every Ghost exactly how many exist. So this says it's numbered to 50. But this one has an alternate face from the other players. So you can see that sort of like, so here's Juan Soto. So Juan Soto has this very like stern face. We call this game face. This is kind of like, hey, we're super serious. And then on the right, this is called victory. So the victory face is numbered to 50. But it's just a way to create scarcity and a way to create. So there's different crowns for different scarcities. Number 25, number to 10, number to 5. Just like trading cards. None of this is the same. And so you open them up and you hope that you get Judge or Ohtani. And my understanding is I've heard some rumblings that there's going to be a $15,000 or $20,000 bounty on the Ohtani 1/1. But no one's opened up any boxes. I opened up one last night in my room for the first one. And for the next month, it'll be all marketing around this. And then the actual release will happen at the first week of August.